Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another workshop from Pivot. So today we have very interesting topic in terms of AI playing out a very impactful role in one of the specific career options that we help people achieve their goals with, which is UI UX. So we are going to focus on how you can supercharge your UI UX design career with AI. And for that, we have two really outstanding speakers. We have Atreyee Lahiri and Anuja Pandey. They both have tremendous design experience. They are with me already backstage, and I'll be getting them up on the stage here in just a second. All right. Welcome both. How are you doing?
Very well.
All right. Good to have you. Let me just get this in the right format. There we go. So, there's a lot happening in the overall, I think, corporate world today. With there's a lot of layoff news that we've been hearing all over the world. Apart from that, we've also been seeing how AI has been playing a very deep and impactful role in how people's careers, day-to-day work are evolving. And so, with AI, I think specifically what we have seen is there are certain use cases which are being tackled first and foremost. Like, for example, the number one use case, as you might know, has been content, and I think the second one, which we are seeing a lot of good work happening in, is design as well. So, thank you for joining me to discuss, how people who are in design careers or are thinking about building their careers in that space can navigate this whole AI revolution that's happening. What we can do is just start with quick intros. I can go first, and then I'll turn it over to you both. So, for people who have joined us who don't know me, my name is Arjun. I am the founder of Pivot, and what we do at Pivot is help people make smooth and successful career transitions. So, we've been doing this for about 3.5, 4 years now, and um, we really saw a gap in the market where there wasn't a lot of support system tools or insights helping people navigate not just jobs well, but let's say you're transitioning from one domain or industry to another, trying to level up your role from, let's say, individual contributor to managerial role. So any inflection points that people go through, that's really where we specialize. And in each case, our end goal is to help people land their target role. Um, We'll share more about what exactly we do and how we help people throughout this conversation. But for now, I'll turn it over to our speakers. So we have Atrey. Atrey, welcome. And if you could just maybe share a little bit about your background and your journey and what you do today, that would be great. And then we'll turn it over to Anuja as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session. A very exciting topic and very hot topic. Everyone's talking about this, and everybody has a lot of apprehensions and fears. Hopefully, we can debunk some of those in this session. My name is Atrey. I work for an organization called MRM. I'm based out of Berlin. We are a digital agency. I specialize in CX, experience strategy. I've been doing this for about 12 years now, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And I'm also on this learning journey along with everybody else and sort of discovering AI and how to best use it. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Welcome again. And Anuja, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I think this is my third session with Pivot, and I'm equally excited. This time it's a new topic, of course, because it's AI. Till now, we were only talking about UX design and how to transition into UX for people. But with AI, things are changing a lot. People are scared, yes, but that's not the whole story. Like right now, when I'm working with AI and the UX design, the story is totally different from what people talk about. So I'm excited to talk more about it. I'm right now working with Genpact. My role is different because I create AI tools. So it's a mixture of using AI tools, but also creating AI tools for companies and all. So it's a very mixed role, and it's equally challenging and interesting. So looking forward to the session.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I think it's good that both of you have very diverse experiences. I mean, for example, Atrey, you are in Berlin and you're working on the agency side, so you're also probably you're seeing a lot of different types of client use cases, whoever you're working with. And Anuja, I think you just mentioned yourself, like it's not just about leveraging AI to give designers an output, but how to build AI specific products as or AI powered products as well. So I'm glad that we have both of you in the house. And what I want to start with is something very simple, right? Rather than making this about like theoretical what ifs, I think what I really want to know is in the beginning, how do you both really leverage AI for your day to day work or perhaps long term planning that you are doing with regard to your work or with regard to your career planning as well. So if you can maybe share maybe two or three use cases where you have most actively used AI recently, that would be a good start to this. Atrey, maybe we can start with you if that's okay.
Sure. So I think there are a few different use cases. Just to your question, Arjun. In terms of the day to day, I work with huge data sets. So essentially, one of my main job activities really is to synthesize information and data, whether that's coming from user testing, whether that's even creating PowerPoints and decks and new business opportunities, etc. So I definitely use a lot of Gen AI, or rather, more specifically, Chat GPT, if you will, for writing and UX writing skills, more specifically. When it obviously comes to visualization, there are umpteen number of tools out there, ranging from Mid Journey to Dali, etc. But I think the way I approach AI is I always walk backwards. So it's very important to understand the task at hand. What is it that you're trying to do? And what is it that you want the AI to help you do? So for me, AI is a tool, it's an enabler. I don't heavily depend on it, I don't use it as a crutch. But on a day to day basis, I mean, yes, I use it for visualization, I use it for quick concepting, whether that's creating quick wireframes or any kind of visualization, as I said. So I use it for quick tasks, but the heavy lifting or the heavy thinking, if you will, definitely comes from the human brain.
Very interesting. I think, whenever we have these discussions with regard to, people leveraging AI or not, you kind of see an initial sort of inclination on whether they believe that AI can, become sort of a crutch and make your thinking power, your skills more obsolete, or they see it as kind of like an all
Yeah.
out, which is like no holds barred, let's go all in. And I think I can see a glimpse of your inclination already, Atrey, which is good, which is good. I think we need to have diverse mindsets around whether AI should be used up till a certain
Yeah.
extent, and beyond that, it should be more human driven efforts, or vice versa. Anuja, yeah, please feel free to share,
Yeah.
your thoughts on this particular question that I asked initially, and then also kind of where you incline towards in terms of AI playing a role in just the brainstorming type of things that Atrey mentioned, or it goes beyond that in terms of getting the work actually done all the way to the finish line.
Okay, so first thing is when you're talking about design, there are steps that we follow. There are different design process, and every process, every step, we can leverage Gen AI. We can leverage AI tools, and it is good to do that. But need to know when to stop, because I can use research part from a Gen AI tool, but I need to also understand that at times it can be biased, and I need to make sure that where I stop and take that human mind into it to come to a conclusion. So that's where it becomes restricting, but also you need to be aware about UX designers come with the main tool we call empathy, which a machine will not have. So we need to keep in mind that the machine is not talking about every human and every user we consider. So that's one part we use, but we need to know. One is also UX writing. The first draft, even the content creators, everyone is using it, but they make sure that the first draft comes out of Chat GPT. But to have a personal flavor of it, of you, you need to rewrite it multiple times,
Yeah.
because every region has different things they find good and they find bad. So we need to make sure that we are doing that way. Of course, it makes our life easy, because you can use it to generate icons, you can use it for pictures, images, everything. And also the manual testing have reduced a lot. But there has to be a place where you need to decide that now this is where I need to jump in and take the lead. Also, when I talk about UX designers creating AI tool, there is one thing that I recently found, that even in Chat GPT, when you ask Chat GPT to write some article, uh, it used to give you the article altogether, and you need to copy paste it to a note section and then edit it. But recently, since the UX designers are working on it, you now get that article in an editable form altogether in ChatGPT. So those things are actually come up by UX designers. They have thought about it, and that's how we
That's in the
bring.
free version, Anuja, or is that a
Yes,
premium
it is.
version
No, no,
of
it is in free
ChatGPT?
version now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You
Wasn't
do
aware.
have a limit.
Interesting.
Like if I'm using it a lot, it stops at a
Hmm.
time after the limit is over, and it tells you like it will be using a different model till the time 1 p.m. or after 6 hours. It is reset for you, or else you start a new chat. So you can wait for a while and
Understood.
then use it, but it's in a free version now. So that's very
Got
interesting
it.
to see.
Got it. So, tell me specifically though, what do you use it in a day to day? So you talked about, kind of the similar things at least that Atrey had mentioned as well. But are you trying to say that you're also using it mostly at a high level for, initial
Yes.
conceptualization and brainstorming, but not really letting AI do the heavy lifting in terms of
No.
actually doing the prototypes and the
See,
mock-ups or
you
things
can
like
use
those?
it for prototypes like UI design. You can use it for UI, but when we talk about UX design, you cannot leverage it totally. You can make sure that AI is utilized to make your design concepts to a proper screen designs, but UX is something that you cannot leverage altogether. So that pixel perfect designs are now gone from hands, and then
Yeah.
the system takes care of it. Like Figma AI takes care of all that.
Got it.
I think,
Interesting. Sorry, Atrey, did you
yeah, I just,
want
yeah,
to
yeah,
add
just
something?
wanted to add to what Anuja said. I think, I mean, one of the most common things that I've noticed in the industry amongst, my peers, etc., is that AI is helping a lot of these technical tasks nowadays. So, like Anuja was also mentioning for UI, whether it's templates or, even color palettes or design systems and things like that. I mean, it's definitely helping repeat some of those patterns. But when it comes to fundamental strategic thinking, and really, pushing the envelope when it comes to experience strategy,
Mhm.
thinking about experiences beyond just an interface, that's where the human mind needs to really step in. And that those are the areas where, aspiring UX UIers should be focusing on, because it's not necessarily about the interface anymore. I mean, a few years down the line, if not already, UI design, and this is not to scare the UI designers on the call, but it's going to be much more than just beautiful designs. And that is where, you need to leverage the human brain, because at the end of the day, you input something into the AI and it outputs, right? But that input is where the human brain plays an important role.
Very interesting. So basically, even you're using AI, it's not like you can completely outsource the work, even for conceptualization or initial grunt work or brainstorming work. You have to make sure that you're putting in the right input, the
Absolutely,
right prompts to get
absolutely.
the
I
right
mean, it's
output.
heavily
Yeah.
dependent on that, and also just going back to the point that Anuja made on humanizing content or the text that you actually input into ChatGPT. Interestingly enough, you now have plugins on ChatGPT that help you humanize content. Why is that happening? I mean, if AI was so efficient, then why do we have an additional plugin to say humanize this content or simplify this or make it sound like a human wrote it? So obviously the AI is also realizing that, oops, we can't be that technical. We need to make it sound more authentic and obviously empathy laden. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. No, that part I would 100% concur with, because so I'll just share a quick observation that I've had over the last couple of years. Anuja, I can't remember where we first met, and Atrey, you as well, but it might happen on LinkedIn because I frequently meet a lot of collaborators on LinkedIn. And I have been writing on LinkedIn since about 2022. And initially, all the content was obviously human driven. And I think starting about 2024, you see now a lot of comments on people's posts are very, very AI
Yep.
driven. And you can just make out just by looking at them whether they are written by an actual person or AI. And I would say, it really is, it puts you off when you see a lot of AI related comments, because you don't really want to talk to AI. You can't engage with
Yep.
AI. At least so far, humans are not very used to doing that. So I think the part that you both are referring to about humanistic writing, I think that is pretty clear. But I also understand that the LLM models realize that that's
Yep.
happening, and they are working. A lot of them are working on it to be able to humanize the content as much as possible. So I mean, for example, DeepSeek took things in a different direction where they made it more academic, but kind of more deep research oriented, right? And then there are other models that we have seen like Copy.ai, which are building AI content
Yep.
generators, which are more human-like. So I think there's a lot happening in terms of the evolution in this space, and people say, I'm not sure how true it is, but people say that we are, just getting started with AI. So there's a lot more to come. But an interesting start to the conversation with regard to, I think, the roles that AI is going to play versus humans are going to play. So with that as a segue to my next topic, um, want to understand what are the most important skills from a design perspective that people who are in this space, especially let's say think about people who are in the first 10 years of their career, how should they be thinking about focusing on certain portfolio of skills to not just remain future proof. I don't really always love that word, because it's kind of like fear inducing that you're going to lose relevance. And I think usually when you come at things from a fear based perspective, you've already lost the race. um, I like to position this more from a angle of what should people drive, let's say, joy and pleasure in, and also think of making themselves as strong and powerful in their field as possible, right? So from that perspective, what are the skills which you think are becoming less relevant in design, and the ones that are gaining more prominence over the last couple of months or years? Anuja, we can start with you this time if you'd like to go
Sure,
ahead.
sure. So, of course, when I say that pixel perfect UI designs are now gone, you don't have to work with it. But you also need to make sure that when you're giving any prompts or a guideline to the AI tool, you need to make sure that you're following the brand guidelines, because it will take care of it, but it can't decide on its own. So that is one thing people need to make sure. The skills that as a UX designer you should work on is problem solving, because a human can only bring that sort of efforts, not an AI tool. And we need to also understand how AI works and also how data works, because everything that's coming out of AI is data driven, heavily data driven. So we need to understand how data works. There was time when we used to talk about SQL queries. There was time when we used to talk about big data and all that. How this all came into picture is because the data is increasing day by day, and to understand that as a UX designer, it's really important. One of the main thing I feel is still relevant is storytelling. You need to make sure how you are delivering the solutions. You need to have a story telling you that this all you understood, and this all makes sense out of the problem statement, and that's how the solutioning part has come up. So those things are still relevant and it will always be relevant in the design field. So that's what I see.
Got it. Atrey, please feel free to add your
I
thoughts
think
to that.
I agree with everything that Anuja said. I completely resonate with that. I think one of the actually, I'll give you an instance. So, back in the day when I had started my career about 11, 12 years ago, Google used to be that central, point where, everything that you Google, even if it's, lorem ipsum content, etc., whether you're looking for images, and it might sound super basic right now, but back in the day, if you knew how to use Google, half your challenges were solved. In today's day and age, it's the same thing with AI, right? So where I'm trying to go with this is that prompt engineering, and the word engineering again sounds very technical for those who are pure design, including myself. I'm always a bit nervous when it comes to programming and engineering, but it's super critical at this point in time. I mean, it's you do not need to be a wizard of AI. You don't necessarily need to go into the depths of the back end as much, unless you're of course passionate and super interested and inclined towards that. But prompt engineering is something that is super critical, and that is going to be the differentiator between a designer who understands AI and uses AI versus somebody who is not able to do the prompt engineering bit as efficiently, if I may. um, the second thing that I would definitely say is knowing when to embed AI in your design thinking workflows. So working on your critical thinking skills, problem solving, as Anuja was mentioning, knowing when to embed AI is another skill that designers or aspiring UX UIers should definitely be focusing on, because not only will that make your workflow efficient, but also you will be very much I'm not going to call it the rat race, because AI right now does seem like something that if you don't know AI, then you're out of the race. It's not true. It takes time. It is a tough learning curve, but yeah, knowing when to use AI is very, very important. I mean, there are different types, right? As we were discussing, there's generative, there's integrated AI, where AI is actually embedded in the day-to-day tools that you use, whether it's Figma, whether it's Confluence, Jira, Notion. So it's really knowing when to use it and how to use it, the application of it. And last but not the least, like I said before as well, systems thinking, super important. Think of the bigger ecosystem. Don't just think about interfaces. See, like try and understand the connectedness of things around you when you're designing, and then use the AI. So I think in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that be very clear in terms of what is it that you're trying to get out of the AI. Don't just jump on the bandwagon because everybody's doing it. It sounds fancy, but you need to know how to use it rather than just jump on the bandwagon.
Interesting. Things that have happened in the past, like smartphones and then social media, and now AI. I mean, these are revolutionary technologies, and I think usually there are a set of early adopters and then people who jump on the bandwagon later on. What I want to understand is from both of you, and whoever has initial reaction, please feel free to go ahead. But what I want to understand is there are definitely going to be certain people who are taking up AI more actively right now. And I would say that on the whole, maybe their quality of output would suffer a little bit if they are really leveraging AI very, very heavily. But over a period of time, I think they're going to end up becoming more productive, meaning in terms of amount of work they are going to be able to churn out versus people who are not really leveraging AI at all or very minimally, right? And that's going to play out not just in design, I think perhaps for other areas as well. Like, for example, if you think about iPhones and how initially certain people resisted, they're using it today. I being one of them, I actually resisted iPhone for 5 years, didn't have one, while all my friends had it. Same thing with social media. A lot of times we see people resist it, now they're on it. With AI, it's not just about what iPhone and social media did, which was more for private and pleasurable reasons. It is more about work, right? At least that's where we are seeing the bigger use case as opposed to personal use case. Um, and so it's a bigger incentive for people to use AI because they can get ahead, at least seemingly, in their professional lives. So let's play this out a little bit, and I would love your reaction to this part, right? Do you see, like, let's say in 2, 3, 4 years, as AI becomes more sophisticated and is able to mimic certain human tendencies and skill sets even better than it does today, do we see that skill requirement that you both have pointed out evolving or changing? Especially, I want to just understand with agentic AI, do you think we will actually need all the design skills in a human that we need today? Or do you think that can actually change in a drastic way in the coming times?
Tough question. This is going to take me a bit. Anuja, go ahead if you have an answer. I need to think this one.
I think I cannot count the number of times I've heard this word agentic AI just today.
It's
Out
everywhere.
of six
Well,
calls
to
I
be fair,
had
we
with
just
my
brought it up,
team,
Anuja, for the first time. But yeah, it is a thing that's coming up everywhere. I'm sure at Genpact, if you're talking to clients, I'm quite sure everybody must be talking.
yes, right now all the AI tools that I have worked on, I have redesigned, I have designed. Now everything is getting to agentic AI. So it's a huge task, but see, first of all, I feel whenever we are talking about AI and a lot of outputs through AI, now or later it will become generic. That's one thing I feel a lot, because there's mostly similar kind of output that you can see, a very generic, because it is not talking about a target audience at that point. When you're creating a prompt, even when you design your prompt in a way saying, talking about your target audience, it becomes very generic. So accessibility is one thing that might get I should say it won't be that properly done when you talk about it, because even right now with agentic AI, you're talking about less human intervention and more of the tool deciding what step to be taken at what
Yeah.
point. So with UX, you cannot talk in that manner, because there is a flow a user follows, and that only as a UX designer you think about it. Because the point when you talk about research, you are actually trying to talk about the pain points and where you fix those solutions in users' life. So that is one thing I don't think a AI tool can any day take over. It can be helpful, but as of now with the current scenario I don't see that taking over. But yeah, still it's very
Yes,
early to
it's early,
say
but your
that.
stance, at least as of now, based on whatever you are seeing, is that you don't see AI agents completely replacing a human designer in the foreseeable future. Okay,
No,
got it.
no.
Atrey, would you agree? I know,
Yeah.
see, this is a what if question, I would say, but this is such an existential question for people
Yeah.
in, corporate, that it has to be addressed, right? Any discussion around this has to discuss whether designers are going to be needed in the same capacity that they're needed today, and especially with the amount of layoffs that are happening. And one thing which I see as a dichotomy in a lot of AI experts, like even Sam Altman, talking about in the future, for example, there are going to be hundreds or millions of companies which will be one person unicorn companies. He frequently talks about that. And we are seeing
Yeah.
some movement towards that, where there are companies, not one person, but 5-person teams, 10-person teams, which have achieved 100 million in ARRs, for example,
Yeah.
using AI for a lot of the operational stuff, right? So at one end, we are talking about this, but then he goes on to say simultaneously that, AI is not going to take jobs. It's a person who uses AI will be taking the jobs, right?
Yeah.
I see that as a dichotomy. How can you have one-person companies which are $1 billion worth, and on the other hand, we are saying that okay, AI is not going to take jobs? Obviously, if one person can build $1 billion company, more and more people and companies would want to move towards leaner organizations, where we are seeing a lot of layoffs happen already, right? So with that as context, I want to kind of extrapolate that a little bit and have people understand, like, which parts of their work remain intact in the foreseeable future, which parts of their work, and especially from a UI UX perspective, which parts of their work are at risk or can be taken over by agentic AI.
Well, I think one thing that I will say that companies that are sort of one member team or five member team, I think it's also very important to understand what is the kind of work that they're doing. Who are these companies? Are we talking about back end customer care service? Are we talking about repetitive tasks? Are we talking about tools? It really depends. So like I think Anuja said this right at the beginning, that the AI is never going to be able to replace the empathy that UX designers and CX designers bring to the table. And that will, I think, remain sacred for very many years to come. So going back to your topic on a question about agentic AI, whatever little bit that I do know about it, it's all the more reason that we as designers think about a holistic design ecosystem. We start thinking in systems. We don't just think about interface. We don't just think about whether the UI is beautiful or if it's working or not. You think at a much bigger and connected sort of scheme of things. So for example, if you're trying to book a flight ticket, right, it's not just about thinking about that booking interface. It's much beyond that. Booking a flight ticket, then making a hotel reservation, making a booking at a restaurant. So it's all sort of connected, and it's connected because these are steps of the customer experience journey, which we kind of figure out and we define. So I think there's, like I said, I mean, it's a big topic. It's a very exciting topic. Everyone's nervous about it, but it's a part of what you do on a day to day. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah. I think that's valid. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add one thing. See, I know it's agentic AI is a buzzword right now, and everyone wants to get to that wagon and all. But I feel if anyone is interested in talking about it, there are design patterns, there are frameworks which actually, as a UX designer, you can try to work on. Like Atreya said, when you talk about booking a flight ticket, so the design framework that we are using is planning and tool based. So there are four design patterns that we usually talk about when you talk about agentic AI. So that's one thing that people can start reading about, because that will help you improve your thought process and plan it in a proper way. But that is only the start when you talk about UX design and agentic AI mix. So that's one thing is right now because I am actually reading about it nowadays.
Yeah, the funny thing is, Anuja, I think everybody is sort of learning on the go about AI, and sometimes we literally have seen job descriptions out there because we help a lot of people, with their job searches. There are job descriptions out there which say, 3 years experience with using AI tools or 5 years experience with using XYZ. And some of these tools have not actually been mainstream for even 3 or 4 years. So I think a lot of times we overestimate how long AI actually has been around when it's really just the beginning. So there's a lot of things to be seen and kind of like a wait and watch. But definitely, as you mentioned, agentic AI is something that at least is being talked about. The potential is not completely out there yet. But I think people are definitely exploring it very, very actively. Just before we go to our next topic of discussion here, I just want to let people know, whoever has joined us. I know it is Choti Holi in India today, so we won't be keeping you for very long. But in case you have any questions, please do share that with us. I think some of your questions have already come in, so we'll be taking those up very soon. But in case you would like Anuja or Atrey to you share any personalized insights with regard to your UI UX design career or how to leverage AI for your career, please do share that in the chat section. All right, so let's talk about the next thing, which is, you've been referring to tools, AI tools. You've been throwing names of many, many tools. Obviously, OpenAI everybody knows about, but there are other tools which might be either design specific tools or perhaps other organizational tools like Atrey. I think you mentioned Jira and Notion, which are very prominent tools in this field for organization purposes.
Yeah.
Uh, what are the tools as a designer that is a must know? Like without it, you're probably not doing things right. Let's start there. and then maybe we can talk about what are some good to have tools, right? Maybe they are not a must have, but if you explore them and you have a specific requirement perhaps in your day to day design work, they could come in handy as well. But first I want to establish sort of the baseline tools that you would swear by and kind of really use actively on a day to day basis.
Yeah, I mean, I can I can start. Again, I think it really depends on the use case. What is it that you're using it for? In my personal experience, of course, everybody is using Chat GPT. That's the new thing, and it's of course very helpful. But it depends again, like what is it that I'm trying to do? If I'm trying to create visualization that I cannot communicate in other words, Mid Journey is something that I use quite a bit. I use Dali. I've started using Sora for essentially taking your mid-journey images and turning them into motion, which is quite interesting. Again, it's not 100% accurate because you'll sometimes see really weird outputs with somebody with seven fingers or two faces or strange things like that. But these are some of the tools that I use quite regularly. In recent times, I've also been using this tool called Lovable, which is great for UI design. Again, it depends on the prompt that you give it. But the other day, I gave it a prompt to design a landing page for a restaurant, for example, and giving it more specific parameters such as simplicity, minimalistic, black and white, dimly lit imagery. So again, it depends on the kind of prompt that you're giving it. But Lovable is great. It also shows you the code, which is amazing. So that's something that I use a lot for colors. I mean, I don't do a lot of heavy UI work. I do a lot of experience strategy work and CX and CX journeys and things like that. So I use a lot of sort of those tools mostly. And like I said before as well, on chat gpt, you do have a lot of plugins on gpt essentially, so you can use whimsical diagrams. I mean, we can obviously consolidate a list and send it across to the viewers as well, but these are some of the tools that I use on a day-to-day basis that help me become more efficient at work.
This Lovable is an interesting one. I've just recently discovered it myself, Atrey. I think it's one of the fastest growing startups in Europe from what we've been hearing. Um, and I think the concept is for the uninitiated who might not know about it is like building your idea out into
Yeah,
like a full-fledged app within a few seconds. I
yeah.
haven't tried it, but you're saying that that's an important
It's
tool in
good.
your.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, it's just to also just get a basic layout, I mean, it's you can obviously change the way it looks, you can change the palette, you can change the imagery, etc., but it gives you a basic outline in terms of what the hierarchy should look like, the page hierarchy. Even UX Pilot, for example, is something that I use quite a bit for just mocking up super quick wireframes, plugging it into Figma. So yeah, I mean, lots of tools out there. Again, depends on what is it that you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I think those were some cool new tools that I've recently come across or not really even heard of. So thank you for sharing that. Anuja, please feel free to share your list of.
Atrey has covered all the tools.
She has. Okay. Which ones do
Yeah.
you think out of these though are more useful for you specifically, right? I mean, I'm imagining there are like let's say four or five tools which are most popular in the design community, but I think even within those four or five tools perhaps there are a few which you personally find more useful. So
So
is
right
there.
now, yes. So right now, I am more using into Figma AI and ChatGPT, of course, for my UX writing and all. Dali at times when I need images, icons, everything, all those sort of things. But Lovable is something I keep hearing, but I don't get a chance to use. But I am going to now. I need to check that out. Usually, what happens is since I create AI tools, sometimes it becomes difficult for me to keep using AI tools and then work on that. So I kind of restrict myself at days that let's not do it and let's bring in human touch there.
Yeah, I feel like unless you're a reviewer of sorts, right? You like to review or you're an early adopter who tries every new product in your space. I think most people like just stick to one thing, and which is why in the previous marketplace economies, for example, we always saw one company sort of becoming a monopoly, right? Because Google, for example, became our go-to search engine, right? And then all these delivery platforms also, there's just like one or two that we typically use.
Yeah.
um, Created all these monopolies. And I think the same kind of behaviors are playing out. Like there is one specific tool for image creation, one for video creation. But right now, it's still so early in terms of the technological capability of AI that people are open to experimenting with new tools. And that's where companies like Lovable or DeepSeek, which just remodeled what ChatGPT is. That's why I think more and more people are open to experimenting here, because of the higher for innovation.
There are
Nowadays, also, oh, I'm so sorry, please.
So, I was just going to say there are also lots of aggregator platforms where you can actually find, I mean, there's a bunch of tools and you can experiment and you can try for yourself. So, one such platform that I sometimes go to is There's an AI for that. The website is actually called There's an AI for that. So, it shows you all the trending tools, the latest tools, most of them, which are, I mean, they're free. So, you can experiment without sort of signing up and paying for them. So that's something that is also quite interesting, that there are aggregator platforms as well nowadays. So you're not, sort of looking for tools here and there. Everything is sort of in under one umbrella.
Got it. All right, Anuja. Yeah, you were going to say something as
Yeah,
well.
so nowadays, even when you look at some of the job descriptions, they talk about UX design with no code or low code experience. So for that, I recently started using locofy.ai, and there are more tools for that, but one is Locofy. There are restrictions, of course, when you're working on UI. You need to make sure that the layers are properly designed and everything, but that helps. So if your job description asks for something like low code and no code, you can explore those kinds of tools too.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think there are people who do feel intimidated, with regard to using certain more tech-heavy tools. But I think most of the AI tools that we've been seeing, which are trying to democratize, different types of technologies, like even OpenAI for that matter, I mean, are very simple to use. I think so. User friendliness and ease of navigation is something that most AI tools are keeping at the front and center, unless they're obviously meant for a technical audience, like some developer tools and those kind of things. um, I think a lot of good insights there. Thank you for sharing those. We can quickly jump to the next part of our conversation, which I think is something a lot of people are grappling with in their careers today, which is how to land the right jobs within their particular space, and how to also avoid the risk of being laid off, which they are seeing much more commonly that they have than they have seen in the past. So I think the way we can think about this topic, Anuja, Trey, is like, as hiring managers or people who are observing how companies are hiring within your own companies, or your friends and colleagues companies, what are some of the biggest hiring related trends that you're seeing out there, in terms of what are hiring managers and recruiters really looking for when they make hiring decisions today, especially when it comes to UI UX designers at early to mid stage? So not freshers necessarily, but let's talk about people with somewhere around 4 5 years experience to maybe 12 13 years of experience, which is what both of you bring to the table as well. Either of you can go ahead first. Atreyee, would you like to take a step first?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the most important things, while again, AI or no AI, AI is the enabler, but fundamentally, I mean, people who are hiring are looking for candidates with very strong problem-solving skills. Candidates who understand the mechanics of design thinking. They don't have to be experts at it, but just sort of understanding the different stages of that workflow, and understanding the value of each of those steps. What's also very important is to try or attempt and sort of be a T-shaped
Yeah.
specialist if possible. I mean, I say T-shaped and I say specialist, but of course, have a core, have a deep understanding of what you're super passionate about, but also have an understanding of how the world is working around you, including the AI. And then, last but not the least, storytelling. Super, super, super important. That's something that I'm still, learning and improving on. But hiring managers want to see your story. They want to see the story of how you arrived at the solution, not necessarily just the solution. So take them on that journey, show them the process, and then additionally, obviously, show them your use of AI in that journey. Essentially, how have you embedded AI in your story? I think that's something that could be a differentiator.
So, like having a strong portfolio could be very
Yeah,
helpful.
having a strong portfolio, even if it doesn't have to be a 50-pager portfolio, even if it's a one-pager, and you have gone to the extent of using AI to make it quick and efficient, that thinking needs to come out in that one-pager and the
Got it.
reasoning behind it.
Right. Can you give maybe an example, like using, sort of any, daily use case kind of an app, like maybe a delivery app, which I'm guessing might be different in Germany compared to India. But let's take like a person who's thinking about applying to an e-commerce aggregator, quick commerce, this kind of an app. What can they do when they're applying to this company to stand out from the crowd?
Mm,
Like you can just maybe extrapolate based on the same example that you just gave with regard to building a portfolio. So how would you go about building this portfolio for this particular company? Would you just showcase your prior work, or would you, for example, design something using AI more efficiently as a glimpse of the potential that the candidate brings to the
yeah.
table for this company?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would first and foremost try and understand what is it that the company does, understanding that key value prop, and then potentially taking the AI and maybe taking a relook or a new look at what the company currently does. So, and for all you know, the company might be using AI already in the back end potentially, but what the company would like to see is that you're already thinking in on the same lines, and you're bringing that level of creativity and imagination on the table along with things that you've already done in the past.
Got it. That's helpful. Anuja?
Proactivity is the key here. Be proactive.
Proactive.
Do more than you're expected to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anuja, actually, just one twist to that same question, if you will. What we are noticing is people are applying to insane number of applications today, right? Like jobs today. When it comes to volume, it has 2x or 3x on average. Meaning, if a person was applying for 100 jobs to land their role earlier today, they are applying to 200 or 300 jobs to land that same role, and that's happening for various reasons. One of which is hiring freezes at many companies or layoffs happening at many companies, and then also there are just too many candidates in the market as well, right? Because of all the layoffs that have happened over the last 2 years. So now instead of competing with 50 people for a role, you're competing with essentially 100, 150, 200 people, and that's why it's sort of taking longer, right? So I mean, one of the things that we often tell people is you do have to try and stand out in the market. If you try to fit to the mold, you risk kind of being pegged as an average job seeker, and it will take you longer time. So, two questions, right, with regard to this. One is how can people leverage AI to land UI UX design career specifically in the same manner that Atreyee answered that question? But the other part of this question is, are there things that job seekers can do across different domains, not necessarily just design, but to leverage AI specifically to either prepare better for their job search or to make it more efficient. So rather than it taking 8 9 months, it takes, let's say, fewer months or less time to be able to land that role.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, this is one thing I even tell my students that no matter what, take advantage of AI that is available. Stop writing your UX case studies all by yourself. Leverage AI, make sure that you're using it as much as possible. But yeah, give a flavor of yourself to it, give a flavor of what the tool is about. Humanize it, of course, but take advantage of it. And no matter what domain you are in, just a simple prompt of this is what my domain is, this is what I am interested in. Tell me what kind of capabilities, what kind of things I can bring. Ask AI directly. Sometimes you actually will get to know what you are lacking and what you're good at via AI, and then you can work on it. I sometimes, even when I'm free and I need to work on my portfolio, I just go and write on AI that, see, this is what I've been working on for last 11 years, and this is what I bring to table. But right now, I'm thinking of making advancement in my career. What should be the adding addition to my portfolio? What kind of projects should I be doing? So it generates few ideas for you. Some might resonate with you for the companies you dream about, and you can start working on it. So that is one thing where always use AI for that. I always suggest using AI for it. And you will get to understand the roadblockers for yourself at that point and start working towards it. So that is one thing I feel, and it's not restricted to UI UX at all. I've seen
Mhm.
last year I have worked on one of the tools where we were actually creating design business document, design document, and creating all code out of it. So a AI tool that can actually generate the whole code, you just have to work on API integrations and everything. So how can you work on creating those kinds of tools also can be researched on AI, right? So I have seen all this happening in front of me. So that's why I always say that use AI as much as possible to reduce your work pressure that way.
Right.
That's one thing. And if I'm missing out on one question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was mostly around like leveraging AI for job
Yeah.
search purposes specifically. I think you sort of tangentially answered that as well. Is there anything you would like to add specifically in regard with what part of the job search where you might have seen it being used more effectively by either your students or people around you? Like for example, I mean, typically we see job search as a multi-part process, not just like one thing. Um, it's usually like, let's say, something like being used for resume customization, could be used for interview preparation, could be used to craft
Hmm.
outreach messages to people within your network if you're trying to source referrals and those kind of things as well. So have you particularly seen any of these happening?
I am still an old school person in that way. I still connect with people on LinkedIn. I still talk to them one on one that say I'm looking for a change and what kind of projects the company is doing and everything. So
Hmm.
that one place I don't feel like using AI because I want to be hired as a person,
Hmm.
not as a machine. So I would always prefer talking to them
Hmm.
directly, dropping a message with a small note on what I'm doing till now, what I have done till now, what I'm looking for, and what the company is doing as of now. So
Hmm.
that's one place I don't actually use AI as such. I do see LinkedIn also have got that write it with AI, but I rarely use that. Yeah.
Got it.
Connect with people whom you want to work with. Connect with, see, even anywhere you go, you have to work on collaboration. I right now work with developers. I have been a developer for 3 years, but for last 7 8 years I've been into design. But I still work with developers. The kind of conversation I have with them is based on my experience. So you need to learn how to collaborate and convey your messages. So please don't use AI at that time. Be human.
Okay. All right. Great. I think we just have one question right now that has come up from the audience. I'll just share that because it was shared directly with me, not in public forum. But it was by someone who is currently applying to jobs and has said that they don't have a lot of prior experience in UI UX specifically. So there's not a lot of portfolio related things that they can showcase. So if they have to now build a portfolio from scratch, which they have not they can't leverage prior work, how do they build that? So That's the question, right? How do they build a portfolio um, which doesn't exist in terms of the prior work, but they have to showcase their potential to a company they're applying to?
I can maybe take a stab at that. One way to do it is pick up any real life challenge, potentially something that you see in the world that you live in or in your current ecosystem which isn't working, which seems to be a pain point. Maybe proactive work around that. How do you solve for that? And then, of course, like Anuja said, ask AI to give you like a very basic outline or a framework as to how to approach it. But yeah, I mean, solve for something as small as, I was trying to book a movie ticket on XYZ portal, but it wasn't successful, or I kept getting a 404 messaging. I mean, even little things like that could be a use case.
Okay. Anuja, any thoughts on this one?
There's always a mix, right? If I'm so when Atreyee is talking about booking a ticket, it is a mix of e-commerce. It is a mix of planning and everything. So you might have projects which are not directly connected to the domain you are trying to apply to, but there can always be a mix, and you can uh, build and change and tweak your portfolio that way. You don't have to work on altogether a new project, but you can tweak your portfolio that way and talk about. You can share the idea. No one is asking you to give you a UI, full fledged UI, but talk about your idea, talk about the research and your thought process.
Yeah.
That's, I feel, she actually said that in a better manner.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think with that, we have come to a close for today's session, and really appreciate all the insights and all the strong opinions that you both shared. I love when people have strong opinions rather than taking diplomatic stance. I think it definitely clearly shows that while AI has been helpful for a lot of professionals, the human element still remains very, very strong. And you just need to figure out which parts of your work can be made more effective or productive using AI. But there are going to be lot of tasks that will be human driven, and you need to make sure that you're bringing your best to those things. So thank you for highlighting that as one of the major takeaways from this session. And I would like to thank everybody who took the time out to join us on Thursday evening, especially on Choti Holi. I hope you got some tangible takeaways. And because this session is recorded, you can view it later. And last thing that I would like to share is that we have a lot of great industry experts like Anuja and Atrey on our Pivot platform. So in case you're looking for one-on-one personalized mentorship or support with regard to achieving your career goals, please do check out our website. The URL for the website is shared in my signature, and then you can very easily book one-on-one sessions with folks like Anuja and Atrey. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you again, and special thanks to
Happy
Anuja.
Holi, everyone.
Happy only everyone.
Yeah, happy Holi.
Thank you,
Okay,
Arjun.
thanks so
Thank
much.
you.